The emergency lights cast long shadows across the bridge of the ethereal drift. Captain Krixtal stood at the command station, his forearms hanging limp at his sides. The Zalathi captain had stopped checking the power readings 3 days ago. He already knew what they would say. The numbers kept getting smaller, and smaller meant death. "Captain, should we try the distress beacon again?" asked Velmar, the navigation officer. Her blue scales had lost their shine over the past 3 weeks. Hunger did that to her species. "The beacon is automatic, Velmar. It sends the signal every 10 minutes. Krixtal's voice carried no hope. They both knew the truth. They were in dead space, the empty void between star systems where no trade routes existed. No one came here on purpose. No one would come here for a rescue. The crew of 7 had been traveling from the mining colonies to the central trade hub when their engine core failed. Not a small failure that could be fixed with spare parts. A complete meltdown that left them drifting in the darkness. The hyperdrive was destroyed. The regular engines were offline. They had momentum from their last jump, but that meant nothing in the vastness of space. They would drift forever, becoming another ghost ship that no one would ever find. "Food supplies are down to 12%, reported Zeka, the quartermaster. The insect-like Vrix clicked his mandibles nervously. "If we reduce portions again, maybe 15 days. 15 days. Krixtal did the math he had already done 100 times. At their current distance from any inhabited system, even if someone heard their distress call right now, it would take at least 20 days to reach them. The math never worked out in their favor. "Reduce the portions," he said anyway. What else could he say? Give up? Lie down and die? That wasn't the Zalathi way, even if the end result would be the same. The temperature on the ship had dropped to barely livable levels. They had shut down heating to all non-essential areas, crowding the crew into the bridge and 2 adjoining rooms. The cargo hold, filled with rare minerals that would have made them all wealthy, sat in frozen darkness. Krixtal found it funny in a bitter way. They would die rich. "Captain." The voice belonged to Thymel, the young Corvan engineer. His fur stood on end, ears perked straight up. "The sensors. There's something approaching." Krixtal moved to the sensor station faster than he had moved in days. Hope was dangerous in situations like this, but he couldn't help the flutter in his chest. On the screen, a single dot moved toward them. The computer struggled to identify it. "What is it? A ship? An asteroid?" Krixtal asked. It's huge, Captain, and it's definitely artificial, but the signature doesn't match anything in our database." Thymel's paws danced over the controls, trying to get more information. "Wait, I'm getting a clearer reading. By the void. Captain, it's armed. Heavily armed." The hope in Krixtal's chest turned to ice. Pirates. It had to be pirates. They had somehow heard the distress call and come to salvage what they could. The crew would be sold as slaves if they were lucky. If they weren't lucky. "Can we run?" Velmar asked, though everyone knew the answer. "We can't even turn," Krixtal replied. He straightened his uniform. If they were going to die, they would die with dignity. "Open a communication channel. Let's see what they want." Before Thymel could comply, the communication system crackled to life on its own. The approaching ship was hailing them. A voice came through, speaking Galactic Standard with a strange accent Krixtal had never heard before. "Unknown vessel. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Perseverance. We received your distress signal. What is your status? How can we help?" The bridge fell silent. Everyone stared at the communication panel as if it might explode. Did she say Earth?" Velmar whispered. "Humans. The newest species to join the galactic community. Though join was perhaps too gentle a word. They had exploded onto the scene just 50 standard years ago, achieving faster-than-light travel while still fighting wars on their own planet. Most species achieved unity before reaching the stars. Humans did everything backwards. "Captain, should we respond?" Thymel asked. Krixtal hesitated. He had never met a human, but he had heard the stories. They were unpredictable, aggressive. Their ships were built for war, not trade. Why would a human warship be out here in dead space? The communication panel crackled again. Unknown vessel, I'm reading critical system failures on your ship. Your life support appears to be failing. We are approaching to render assistance. Please respond so we know you're alive in there. There was something in the voice. Concern? Worry? Crixtal had heard that humans were emotional creatures, but this seemed genuine. He pressed the communication button with one shaking hand. This is Captain Crixtal of the merchant vessel Ethereal Drift. We are in severe distress. Our engines have failed completely. Life support is at 40%. We have 7 souls on board. Understood, Ethereal Drift. Hold tight. We'll be there in. A pause. 6 hours. Can your life support last that long? 6 hours. Crixtal checked the sensors again. The human ship was moving at incredible speed, far faster than safety protocols recommended in dead space. They were burning hard to reach them. Yes, we can survive 6 hours, Crixtal managed to say. Good. Prepare for docking. We're bringing engineers, medical supplies, and food. Nobody dies on my watch, Captain Crixtal. The communication ended. The crew stood in stunned silence. They're coming to help, Zeka said slowly, as if testing the words. Just like that. They heard our distress call and they're coming to help. But why? Velmar asked. We're not their species. We have no alliance with Earth. We can't pay them. Why would they risk their ship and crew for strangers? Crixtal had no answer. In galactic society, rescue operations were carefully negotiated. Cost-benefit analyses were run. Political implications were considered. The Galactic Council had specific protocols about dead space rescues, mostly amounting to don't bother. But the humans were coming anyway. The next 6 hours passed in a blur of preparation and disbelief. The crew cleaned themselves as best they could with limited water. They prepared the docking bay, though they weren't sure if human docking procedures were compatible with their own. Thymel tried to research human customs on their limited database but found only basic information. As the Perseverance approached, its true size became clear. The ship was massive, easily 3 times the size of the Ethereal Drift. Its hull was angular and aggressive, covered in weapon ports and sensor arrays. This wasn't a ship built for peaceful exploration. This was a predator, designed to hunt and kill, and it was here to save them. The docking was surprisingly smooth. Human technology, it seemed, included adaptive docking systems that could match any configuration. Within minutes, the ships were connected. The airlock cycled. Crixtal and his crew waited on the other side, not sure what to expect. Would the humans demand payment? Set terms? Claim salvage rights? The door opened. 3 humans stepped through, and Crixtal got his first look at the species everyone was talking about. They were smaller than he expected, bipedal with only 2 arms. They wore military uniforms but had removed any armor or weapons. The one in front, a male with dark skin and short hair, smiled, as if this was a normal day for him. Captain Crixtal? I'm Commander Yakub Petrov. We're here to help. Medical team is right behind me and our engineers are ready to look at your engines. He paused, studying the alien crew with curious eyes. When was the last time you all had a proper meal? 3 weeks ago, Commander, Crixtal managed. Petrov's smile faded, replaced by something harder. 3 weeks? Chen is going to lose it when she hears that. He turned to one of the other humans. Rodriguez, get to the galley. Bring everything we can spare. These people need food now. On it, Commander, the other human said and jogged back through the airlock. Petrov turned back to the alien crew. Right, let's get you sorted. Medical first, then food, then we'll fix your ship. Don't worry about payment or politics or any of that nonsense. You're in distress, we're here to help. It's that simple. Crixtal felt his legs weaken. After 3 weeks of certain death, salvation had come in the form of a species barely known to the galaxy. A species that everyone said was dangerous and unpredictable. Maybe they were right. Because what could be more unpredictable than kindness in the cold darkness of space? Commander Jakub Petrov had seen a lot of things in his 15 years of service. But the inside of the Ethereal Drift made him angry in a way he hadn't felt in years. The ship was dying and its crew wasn't far behind. The emergency lighting flickered like a fading heartbeat. Ice crystals formed on the walls where the heating had been shut off. The air smelled of desperation and fear. "Medical team, get in here now," he said into his communicator, his voice carrying an edge that made the alien crew step back. Behind him, Dr. Yuki Tanaka entered with 2 medical assistants carrying cases of supplies. The doctor was a small woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She took one look at the assembled aliens and immediately went into what the crew called emergency mode. "All of you sit down before you fall down," she ordered. The aliens looked at their captain, who nodded. They sank onto the deck, too exhausted to question the humans' authority. Dr. Tanaka moved from one crew member to the next, scanning them with a handheld device. She muttered under her breath in what Petrov recognized as Japanese, and he knew from experience that meant she was upset. "Commander, they're all suffering from severe malnutrition. The Vrix," she pointed at the insect-like Zika, "is going into hibernation shock. The Zalathi are experiencing organ stress. The Korvan's fur is falling out from protein deficiency. Can you treat them?" Petrov asked. "Can I?" "Of course I can treat them." Dr. Tanaka's professionalism cracked for a moment. "The question is why they've been sitting out here for 3 weeks without anyone helping them." "Dead space," Captain Krikstal said weakly. "The Galactic Council advises against rescue operations in dead space. Too dangerous, too expensive." Petrov and Dr. Tanaka exchanged looks. It was the kind of look that said they were both thinking the same unprintable things about the Galactic Council. "Well, the Galactic Council can kiss my—" Petrov caught himself. "The Council isn't here, we are. Doc, do what you need to do." Meanwhile, Chief Engineer Maria Santos had arrived with her team. She was a stocky woman with grease permanently embedded under her fingernails, and a grin that suggested she found broken things personally offensive. She took one look at the flickering lights and whistled. "Permission to examine your engine core, Captain?" she asked Krikstal. "It's completely destroyed," the Zalathi captain said. "The containment field collapsed during our last jump. The hyperdrive melted into slag. Nothing can be done." Santos's grin widened. "Sir, with all due respect, you haven't met human engineers. We fixed a fusion reactor with chewing gum and prayer once. Thompson, Nakamura with me. Let's go see this so-called impossible situation." The 3 engineers headed toward the engine room, tools clanking in their bags. Thaimal, the Corvan engineer, followed them, his curiosity overcoming his exhaustion. In the mess hall, Ensign James Park and Specialist Rodriguez were setting up what looked like a feast. The young ensign, barely out of the academy, handled the alien food preparations with surprising skill. "Lucky we stocked multi-species rations at the last station," Park said, heating up a container of something that smelled like roasted meat. Captain Chen insisted, even though command said it was unnecessary. "Captain Chen says a lot of things are necessary that command disagrees with," Rodriguez replied with a knowing smile. The alien crew watched in amazement as the humans laid out more food than they had seen in weeks. Protein bars adapted for different species, nutrient drinks, even what appeared to be fresh fruit, a luxury in deep space. "Eat slowly," Dr. Tanaka warned, finishing her initial treatments. "Your systems need time to adjust. Small bites." Velmar, the navigation officer, took a careful bite of a protein bar designed for reptilian species. Her eyes widened. This is expensive. Each bar must cost—" "Don't worry about cost," Petrov said firmly. "Eat." Down in the engine room, things were getting interesting. Chief Santos stood inside what used to be the containment chamber, her hands on her hips studying the melted mess of the hyperdrive. Thymel stood beside her, fur drooping with despair. "See? Nothing can be done. The core melted through 3 decks. The power couplings are fused. The containment field generator is slag." Santos pulled out what looked like a roll of silver tape from her bag. "Is this your first engine?" "What?" "No, I've been an engineer for 10 standard years." "Then you should know that impossible is just another word for challenging." "Nakamura, can we run a bypass from their auxiliary power through our portable generator?" The other engineer, a young man with a perpetual expression of deep thought, studied his tablet. "If we reconfigure the power flow and use our coupling adapters?" "Yeah, maybe. But the hyperdrive is still melted." "We don't need the hyperdrive," Santos said. "We just need to get them to the nearest station." "Thompson, what about those impulse engines?" Thompson, a woman with bright red hair tied back in a ponytail, was already elbow-deep in an access panel. "The engines themselves are fine. It's the power distribution that's fried. If we can get power to them, which we can, Santos interrupted, already working. She looked at Thymel. You want to help or stand there with your mouth open? Thymel shook himself and moved to assist. As he watched the humans work, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. They weren't following any standard repair procedures. They were literally making things up as they went, connecting systems that were never meant to be connected, using materials that weren't designed for this purpose. Is that adhesive tape? He asked as Santos used the silver roll to secure a power coupling. Duct tape, she corrected. Humanity's greatest invention. It's held our space stations together since before we had artificial gravity. Back on the bridge, Captain Crixtel was having his own moment of disbelief. He was speaking with Captain Chen over the communication system, and the human captain was nothing like he expected. Captain Crixtel, I need you to know that you're under our protection now, Chen said. We'll get your ship running and we'll escort you to the nearest station. Captain Chen, I must ask. Why, your ship is military. You must have a mission. Why divert for us? There was a pause. When Chen spoke again, her voice was softer. Because 40 years ago, when humanity's first colony ship suffered a catastrophic failure, we sent out a distress call. Everyone ignored it. 300,000 people died. We swore that day that we would never ignore a distress call, no matter where it came from or who sent it. Crixtal felt his throat tighten. I don't know how to repay this. You don't repay it. You pass it on. Next time you hear a distress call, you answer it. That's how we make space a little less cold. The work continued for hours. The humans seemed tireless, moving between tasks with an energy that amazed the exhausted alien crew. Ensign Park had started playing music from his personal device, something he called classic rock. The rhythmic sounds filled the ship, and oddly, it seemed to make everyone work better. Human music is strange, Velmar said, her strength returning thanks to the food and medical treatment. This is ancient stuff, Park said with a grin, from Earth like 300 years ago. But it's perfect for working. Something about the rhythm. Dr. Tanaka had transformed the medical bay into a proper treatment center. She worked with each crew member individually, using a combination of human medicine and improvised treatments based on each species' biology. Your medical knowledge extends to all these species? Zeka asked as she treated his hibernation symptoms. Not when I started this voyage, she admitted. But I read every medical database I could find during our journey. You never know who you might need to help. Down in the engine room, a cheer went up. The lights suddenly brightened. The air circulation system hummed to life. The heating kicked in and the temperature began to rise. We have power, Santos announced over the intercom. It's not pretty and I wouldn't recommend any sharp turns, but you can move. Captain Crixtal couldn't speak. His ship, which had been dead for 3 weeks, was alive again. It was impossible, but the humans had done it anyway. Commander Petrov found him standing at the command station, all 4 hands gripping the console. You all right, Captain? I don't understand your species, Crixtal said quietly. You're warriors. Your ship is built for destruction, but you use that power to help strangers. You risk yourselves for no gain. Petrov was quiet for a moment. Can I tell you something, Captain? Every human grows up hearing stories about heroes. People who help others, not because they have to, but because it's right. We tell these stories over and over until they become part of who we are. So when we see someone in trouble, we don't think about cost or risk. We think about being the hero in someone else's story. That seems inefficient, Crixtal said. Maybe, Petrov agreed. But it means we sleep well at night. The two stood in comfortable silence, watching as humans and aliens worked side by side to bring the ship back to life. The fear that had filled the vessel was gone, replaced by something else. Hope, certainly, but more than that. It was the dawning realization that the galaxy had misjudged humanity. They weren't unpredictable warriors. They were protectors who happened to be very good at war. The alarm cut through the restored warmth of the ethereal drift like a blade of ice. Captain Crixtal's 4 hands moved across his console with renewed energy. After a day of repairs, his ship finally had working sensors, and what they showed made his blood run cold. 3 ships approaching, Thymol announced, his fur standing on end. They're coming in fast from the stellar north. Commander Petrov, who had been helping move supplies, appeared on the bridge in seconds. What kind of ships? Checking signature now. Thymol's ears flattened against his head. Craxian. It's Craxian pirates. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew about the Craxians. They were the nightmare of deep space, raiders who targeted vulnerable ships far from help. They took cargo, ships, and crew. Those taken by Craxians were never seen again. Sold in slave markets in the lawless sectors. How long until they arrive? Petrov asked, his casual demeanor replaced by sharp military focus. At their current speed, 2 hours, Velmar said. Petrov immediately activated his communicator. Captain Chen, we have a situation. Sarah Chen's voice came through clear and steady. I see them, Commander. 3 Craxian raiders, scavenger class. They must have been monitoring the distress signal. Captain Chen, Krikstal interrupted, his voice shaking. You should leave. Take your crew and go. The Craxians won't chase a warship. They only want easy prey. Leave? Chen's voice carried genuine confusion. Captain Krikstal, your ship is under our protection. We don't leave people behind. But this isn't your fight. We're not your species. We're not your responsibility. You became our responsibility the moment we answered your distress call. Commander Petrov, recall all personnel to the Perseverance. Battle stations in 30 minutes. The human crew members on the ethereal drift began moving with practiced efficiency, but they weren't panicking. They weren't even hurrying. They moved with the calm precision of people who had done this before. Chief Santos emerged from the engine room, wiping her hands on a rag. We getting company? Craxian pirates, Petrov replied. Pirates? Santos actually smiled. Been a while since we dealt with pirates. The repairs will hold, Captain Krikstal. But I wouldn't recommend any fancy flying. Your ship can move, but it can't fight. We're not expecting them to fight, Petrov said. Captain, can you maintain position behind the Perseverance? Krikstal nodded numbly. The humans were going to fight. They were actually going to fight 3 pirate ships for complete strangers. As the human crew returned to their ship, Ensign Park paused beside Velmar. Don't worry. You're about to see something special. Special? Velmar's scales had gone pale. Those are Craxian pirates. They've been raiding for centuries. They know every trick, every tactic. Park's young face split into a grin. Yeah, but they've never fought humans. Back on the Perseverance, the transformation was remarkable. The helpful, friendly humans who had shared food and fixed engines became something else entirely. They moved through the corridors with purpose, each person knowing exactly where they needed to be. The easy chatter was replaced by crisp, professional communications. Captain Chen stood on her bridge, studying the tactical display. Communications, open a channel to the approaching vessels. Channel open, Captain. Craxian vessels, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Perseverance. The vessel under our protection is off limits. You have 30 seconds to alter course. The response came quickly. The main viewer lit up with the image of a Craxian commander. The reptilian alien's scarred face twisted into what might have been amusement. Human, you are 1 ship. We are 3. And you're protecting worthless merchants? How much are they paying you? They're not paying us anything, Chen replied. 20 seconds. Then you're fools. Stand aside or we'll go through you. 10 seconds. The Craxian laughed, a harsh sound like grinding metal. You humans are new to space. Let me teach you how things work out here. The strong take from the weak. That is the way. 5 seconds. Are you even listening, human? Time's up. Chen cut the communication. Weapons target the lead vessel's engines. Fire when ready. On the ethereal drift, the alien crew watched their sensors in stunned silence. The Perseverance had seemed large before, but now it revealed itself as something more. Weapon ports opened along its hull like eyes opening. Missile tubes extended. Energy readings spiked to levels that made their instruments scream warnings. The first shot was a railgun round. A solid piece of metal accelerated to a fraction of light speed. It punched through the lead pirate ship's shields like they were made of paper and tore through their engine compartment. The ship immediately began to drift, venting atmosphere and fuel. The 2 remaining pirate ships opened fire, their energy weapons splashing against the Perseverance's shields. The human ship didn't even slow down. Captain, they're firing on us. One of the human bridge officers reported, sounding almost bored. I can see that, Lieutenant. Return fire. Disable their weapon systems. What followed was not a battle. It was a demonstration. The Perseverance launched a swarm of fighter drones, small automated craft that moved in perfect synchronization. They danced around the pirate ship's defensive fire, targeting specific systems with surgical precision. Missile tubes. Sensor arrays. Shield generators by the void. Thymol whispered, watching from the ethereal drift. They're not trying to destroy them. They're taking them apart piece by piece. The second pirate ship tried to run, turning to flee back into deep space. The Perseverance's main gun swiveled, tracked, and fired once. The fleeing ship's engines died, leaving it spinning helplessly. The third ship, seeing the fate of its companions, did something unexpected. It accelerated toward the ethereal drift, weapons charging. "They're going for the merchants," someone shouted on the Perseverance bridge. Chen's voice was ice. "Like hell they are. All weapons target that ship. Give them everything." The space between the Perseverance and the last pirate ship became a river of light. Railgun rounds, missiles, energy beams, and fighter drones all converged on the Craxian vessel. Its shields lasted exactly 3 seconds. The ship itself lasted 2 more. When the light faded, only debris remained. "Damage report," Chen ordered. "Minor shield drain, Captain. No hull damage. No injuries. And the 2 disabled vessels? Dead in space. Life signs detected on both." Chen was quiet for a moment. On the ethereal drift, Crystal expected her to finish the job. The pirates were disabled, defenseless. In galactic standard warfare, they would be destroyed to prevent future threats. "Launch rescue shuttles," Chen ordered. "Captain," her weapons officer sounded surprised. "They're disabled and their life support is failing. We're rescuing them. But Captain, they're pirates. They attacked us. And now they're defeated enemies in distress. Launch the shuttles." Crystal couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Commander Petrov, is your captain serious? She's rescuing the pirates?" Petrov, who had returned to help coordinate from the ethereal drift, nodded. "Dead enemies don't learn anything. Living ones might choose a different path. But they would have killed us all, sold us as slaves. What they would have done doesn't matter. What matters is what we choose to do." The rescue operation was surreal. The same humans who had just devastated 3 pirate ships now worked to save the crews. Dr. Tanaka prepared her medical bay for incoming wounded. Engineers rushed to stabilize the failing life support on the pirate vessels. The Craxian commander from the first ship was brought aboard the Perseverance in restraints. He was injured, bleeding from a head wound, but very much alive. When he saw Captain Chen, he snarled, "Finish it, human. You've won. Take your prize." "The only prize I'm interested in is getting these merchants to safety," Chen replied. "You and your crew will be turned over to Galactic Council authorities at the next station." "You're not going to kill us?" "Why would I kill you? You're not a threat anymore." The Craxian stared at her, clearly unable to process this. "You destroyed my ship. You threatened people under my protection. But your war is over. Now you get to live with the consequences." As the rescue continued, something strange happened. The captured pirates, expecting execution or torture, were instead given medical treatment and food. They were locked in the brig, certainly, but they were treated with the same professional care as anyone else. One young Craxian, barely an adult, was brought in with severe injuries. Dr. Tanaka worked on him for 2 hours, saving his life. When he woke up, he looked at her with confusion. "Why?" he asked weakly. "Because I'm a doctor," she replied simply, "and you needed help." On the bridge of the ethereal drift, Captain Crystal watched all of this through the sensor feeds. His understanding of the universe was being rewritten with every passing moment. "They showed mercy," Velmar said quietly. "After such violence, they showed mercy." "Not just mercy," Thymol corrected, his engineer's mind seeing the bigger picture. "They showed choice. They could have destroyed all 3 ships in seconds. They chose to disable. They could have let the pirates die. They chose to save them. Every action was a choice. Is this what humans are?" Zeka asked. "Warriors who choose not to kill?" Commander Petrov, who had been listening, spoke up. "We're warriors who understand that winning isn't about destruction. It's about protecting what matters. Those pirates will face justice, but it will be civilized justice. They'll have trials." The Perseverance's medical bay had seen many things, but never quite like this. Dr. Yuki Tanaka moved between the beds where wounded Craxian pirates lay beside her regular patients. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The same beings who had tried to destroy them hours ago were now receiving the same medical care as the human crew. Commander Petrov stood in the doorway, his left arm in a sling. During the rescue operations, a piece of debris had torn through his suit. He'd wrapped it with emergency sealant and kept working, only accepting treatment after everyone else was safe. "How are they?" he asked Dr. Tanaka. "Stable. All of them." She looked tired but satisfied. "The young one cracks he'll make a full recovery. He's been asking questions about humans. About why we saved him. She paused, checking a monitor. I think he's having a crisis of faith in everything he was taught. Petrov nodded and moved deeper into the medical bay. The young Craxian watched him approach with wide eyes. Crex couldn't have been more than the equivalent of 17 in human years. Too young to be a pirate, but here he was. You're the one who led the rescue team, Crex said. It wasn't a question. I am. You were injured saving my crewmates. It happens. Crex was silent for a moment. My captain said humans were weak. That you succeeded in space by luck, not strength. But you defeated 3 ships without taking damage. Then you risked yourself to save us. I don't understand. Petrov sat on a nearby chair, wincing slightly. What's to understand? You were dying. We could help. So we did. But we're enemies. We're enemies, Petrov corrected. Now you're prisoners. There's a difference. In Craxian culture, prisoners are killed or sold. While in human culture, prisoners are kept safe until they can face justice. Then, if they're found guilty, they serve their time and get a chance to start over. Crex stared at him. Start over? Everyone deserves a second chance, kid. Even pirates. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Perseverance, Captain Chen was dealing with a different kind of problem. The Galactic Council had finally responded to her report about the incident, and they were not happy. Captain Chen, the image of Counselor Vrix filled the screen. The elderly Altarian's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep disapproval. You violated 17 protocols by engaging in a rescue operation in dead space. And saved 7 lives, Chen replied calmly. You also engaged in combat with Craxian vessels, potentially destabilizing the entire sector. They attacked first. We defended ourselves in the ship under our protection. And then you rescued the pirates. Captain, this is highly irregular. What would you have had me do, Counselor? Let them die? That would have been tidier. Chen's expression hardened. With respect, Counselor, humanity didn't join the galactic community to be tidy. We joined to make a difference. Your species has been in space for barely 50 years. You don't understand the delicate balance. I understand that 7 innocent people would be dead if we'd followed your protocols. I understand that even pirates deserve a chance at justice rather than execution. And I understand that sometimes, Counselor, the right thing to do isn't the easy thing. The Counselor's eyes blinked rapidly. This will have consequences, Captain. I'm counting on it, Chen replied and cut the communication. Her first officer, Commander Davies, whistled low. That's going to ruffle some feathers. Good, maybe it's time someone did. Back on the ethereal drift, repairs continued. The ship would never be the same, but it would get them home. Chief Santos and Thymol had become an unlikely but effective team. The human engineers' unconventional methods combined, with the Corvin's deep technical knowledge, had produced solutions neither would have thought of alone. I still can't believe duct tape is holding our power coupling together, Thymol said, running another diagnostic. Never doubt the tape, Santos said with a grin. It saved more human missions than all our fancy technology combined. Here, let me show you something else. She pulled out a small device from her toolkit. This is a sonic wrench. We invented it after watching some old Earth entertainment videos. Everyone laughed at the idea, but it works on about 70% of alien tech we encounter. Your species invented a tool based on entertainment? We get our best ideas from fiction. Communicators, tablets, even our first spacecraft designs were inspired by stories. Santos tightened another connection. Humans dream first, then we make it real. That's actually beautiful, Thymol admitted. Don't go getting sentimental on me, Furball. We still have 3 decks to check. Despite the banter, a genuine friendship was forming. It was happening throughout both ships. Ensign Park had started a daily music session where both crews gathered. The Zalathi discovered they enjoyed something humans called jazz. The Vrix found that classical music helped their meditation. Even some of the imprisoned Craxians could be heard humming along to their cells. It was during one of these sessions that the second attack came. The alarm was different this time. Not the sharp warning of approaching ships, but the deep, bone-rattling tone that meant something big was coming. Captain, we have a problem, the sensor officer announced. Craxian battlecruiser, Devastator class. It's huge. Captain Chen studied the display. This wasn't a raiding party. This was a warship twice the size of the Perseverance, bristling with weapons. They must be coming for their people, Davies said. Or revenge, Chen added. Open a channel. The screen filled with the image of an older Craxian scarred and decorated with military honors. Human vessel, I am Admiral Craxter of the Craxian Armada. You have our people. Return them immediately or be destroyed. Admiral, your people attacked civilians under our protection. They're being held pending transfer to Galactic Council authorities. Unacceptable. They are Craxian citizens. They will face Craxian justice. They committed crimes in neutral space. That makes it a council matter. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. Human, you have one chance. Release them or I will take them. Chen stood up, her full height still small compared to the alien on the screen, but her presence filled the bridge. Admiral, I have 43 of your people aboard. They're all alive. They've all received medical treatment and they'll all get fair trials. That's more mercy than they showed their victims. Mercy. The Admiral spat the word. Weakness. No, Admiral. Mercy is strength. It's easy to kill. It's harder to choose not to. She paused. But make no mistake. If you fire on us or the ship we're protecting, I will defend them with everything I have. You're half our size. Size isn't everything, Admiral. Ask your 3 raiding ships. Oh wait, you can't. We disabled them in under 5 minutes. The tension stretched between them. On the ethereal drift, Captain Crixtall and his crew watched in terrified fascination. They were about to witness either remarkable diplomacy or devastating warfare. Admiral, a voice spoke from off-screen on the Craxian ship. There was hurried conversation in the Craxian language. The Admiral's expression changed. You have Crex aboard. My nephew. Chen's expression softened slightly. He's alive and recovering. He was badly injured, but our doctor saved him. You saved him? After he attacked you? He's a kid, Admiral. Maybe 17 in human years. He doesn't deserve to die for following bad orders. The Admiral was silent for a long moment. May I speak with him? Chen looked at Dr. Tanaka, who had appeared on the bridge. The doctor nodded. I'll bring him up. Minutes later, young Crex stood on the bridge, supported by Dr. Tanaka. He looked at the screen and saw his uncle. Uncle, Crex, you live. The humans saved me. They saved all of us. Uncle, they could have let us die. We attacked them and they still saved us. It's a trick, some form of manipulation. No. Crex's voice was stronger than anyone expected. Uncle, I've been wrong. We've all been wrong. They showed us mercy not because they're weak, but because they're strong enough to choose. They fed us, treated our wounds. The doctor spent 2 hours saving my life, and she knew who I was. She knew I was a pirate, and she saved me anyway. The Admiral stared at his nephew. They've clouded your mind. They've opened it, Crex replied. Uncle, please, don't do this. The humans, they're not our enemies. They could be our teachers. The bridge was silent. Everyone waited to see what would happen next. Finally, the Admiral spoke. Captain Chen, will my people be treated fairly by the Council? I'll personally ensure it. They'll face justice, but it will be fair. And Admiral, your nephew is young. With the right guidance, he could have a different future. You would speak for him? If he chooses a different path, yes. The Admiral was quiet for another long moment. I will monitor the Council proceedings. If my people are mistreated, they won't be. You have my word. The word of a human. The word of Captain Sarah Chen. That means something, Admiral. The massive battlecruiser held position for another tense minute. Then slowly it began to turn. This isn't over, human. No, Chen agreed. It's just beginning. Admiral, there's another way. Your people don't have to be pirates. There's honest work in space, good work. Think about it. The communication ended. The battlecruiser jumped to hyperspace, leaving them alone. The collective exhale from both ships was audible over the communication system. They left, Velmar said in disbelief. A Craxian battlecruiser just left. Words, Captain Crixtall said softly. The humans won with words. The Galactic Council chamber had seen 10,000 years of debates, declarations, and decisions. Its vast circular hall could hold representatives from 500 species, each with their own section, their own atmosphere, their own gravity. But today only one being stood at the center speaking platform, and every seat was filled to hear him. Captain Crixtall of the Ethereal Drift had never imagined he would address the full council. 3 months ago he had been a simple merchant captain, hauling rare minerals between systems. Now he was about to change the galaxy's understanding of its newest members. Honored representatives, he began, his forehand steady despite his nerves. "I come before you not to discuss trade routes or territorial disputes. I come to tell you about humans." A murmur ran through the assembly. The humans were always a topic of heated discussion. Too aggressive, some said. Too unpredictable, said others. Their rapid expansion into space while still fighting among themselves on their homeworld had concerned many species. 3 months ago, my ship suffered catastrophic engine failure in dead space. My crew of 7 faced certain death. We sent distress signals for 3 weeks. By all protocols, by all reasonable expectations, we should have died there. He paused, letting that sink in. Then the humans came. The main display lit up with the official logs from the incident. The image of the Perseverance appearing on sensors, the massive warship diverting from its mission without hesitation. Captain Sarah Chen didn't ask our species. She didn't ask our political affiliations. She didn't ask if we could pay. She heard a distress call and she came. That's all that mattered to her. The Altarian representative stood. "Captain Crickstall, we've read the reports. The humans violated 17 protocols. Protocols that would have left us dead," Crickstall interrupted, something he would never have dared to do before. "Counselor Vrix, with respect, your protocols value order over lives. The humans value lives over order." He clicked to the next display, showing images of the human crew working on his ship. They fixed our engines with something called duct tape and determination. Their chief engineer looked at damage our own engineers called irreparable and said, "This is nothing. We fixed worse with less." And she was right. The display changed to show the Craxian pirate attack. When pirates came, the humans could have left. We were not their responsibility. We were not their species. But Captain Chen said something I will never forget. She said, "You became our responsibility the moment we answered your call." The recording played, showing the brief, devastating battle. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably. They had all heard of human military capability, but seeing it was different. They destroyed 1 ship and disabled 2 others in less than 5 minutes. Total victory. Any other species would have finished them off. It would have been justified. It would have been expected. He paused again. The humans rescued them. They gave medical treatment to the beings who had just tried to kill us all. When I asked Commander Petrov why, he said, "Dead enemies don't learn anything." The image of young Krex appeared on the screen, lying in the medical bay. This is Krex, nephew of Admiral Kraxtor. He was dying. Dr. Yuki Tanaka spent 2 hours saving his life. She knew he was a pirate. She knew he had tried to destroy us. She saved him anyway because, in her words, "I'm a doctor and he needed help." The chamber was completely silent now. Some of you fear humans because they achieved space travel while still divided. You see their weapons and call them warriors. You see their aggression and call them dangerous. You're not wrong. But you're not seeing the whole truth. He straightened, all forearms spreading wide. Humans are dangerous, but not because they can destroy. Any species can destroy. Humans are dangerous because they choose not to. They have the power to conquer, and they choose to protect. They have the ability to take, and they choose to give. They have every reason to be cynical, and they choose hope. The display showed the final confrontation with Admiral Kraxtor. A Craxian battlecruiser, twice the size of the Perseverance, came for revenge. Captain Chen faced it down without firing a shot. She won with words and mercy. The Admiral left because a human showed him something the Craxians had never considered. That strength and mercy are not opposites. They're partners. Counselor Vrix stood again. "Captain, this is one incident." "No," a new voice interrupted. The chamber turned to see Ambassador Thymel of the Corvin Federation standing. The same Thymel who had been the engineer on the ethereal drift. "It's not one incident." He activated his own display. 3 weeks after the ethereal drift incident, human cargo vessel Singapore Sunset answered a distress call from a Vrix colony ship. They evacuated 3,000 colonists from a failing life support system. The display changed. 1 month after that, the human military vessel Indomitable diverted from patrol to assist a Zalathi research station caught in an ion storm. More images. 2 weeks ago, human medical ship Florence Nightingale spent 8 days providing free medical care to a Raxian refugee camp. The displays kept changing, showing incident after incident. In the 3 months since the ethereal drift incident, humans have answered 47 distress calls. They've asked for payment 0 times. This isn't an anomaly. This is who they are, a new figure stood. It was young Krex, wearing not prison clothes but the uniform of a council rehabilitation program. I was a pirate, he said simply. I attacked innocent ships. I would have killed or enslaved the crew of the ethereal drift. The humans had every right to kill me. Instead, they saved my life, gave me a fair trial, and offered me a second chance. I now work with the Council's anti-piracy task force, using my knowledge to help stop others from making my mistakes. He looked around the chamber. The humans taught me that strength isn't about taking from the weak. It's about protecting them. My uncle, Admiral Crackstor, has begun negotiating with the Council to transition Craxian fleets from piracy to legitimate security services, all because humans showed us we had a choice. Captain Chen's image appeared on the main screen. She wasn't there in person, currently halfway across the galaxy on another rescue mission. If I may address the Council, her recorded message began. You wonder why humans act as we do, why we respond to distress calls without calculating cost, why we show mercy to enemies. The answer is simple. We've been alone. We spent thousands of years looking at the stars, wondering if anyone was out there. Now we know we're not alone. How could we not help? How could we see suffering and not respond? You exist. You're real. You're not alone. And neither are we. She paused. Earth's history is full of darkness, wars, cruelty, mistakes we can never fully atone for. But it's also full of moments when someone chose to help a stranger, when someone risked everything to save another. Those moments, small as they were, are what pushed us forward. They're what got us to the stars. We're not perfect. We're probably the most flawed species in this council, but we're trying. Every distress call we answer, every life we save, every enemy we show mercy to. We're trying to be better than our worst impulses. We're trying to prove that our strength can be used for something good. The message ended. The chamber remained silent. Finally, the eldest member of the council, the ancient Void Watcher Prime, spoke for the first time in 5 years. Its crystalline form resonated with harmonic frequencies that translated into words. For 10,000 years, this council has maintained order through protocols, procedures, and predictability. The humans bring chaos. They break our rules. They ignore our protocols, a pause, and perhaps that's exactly what we needed. The Void Watcher continued. We had become stagnant, comfortable. We stopped answering distress calls because protocols said it was too risky. We accepted piracy because confronting it was too complicated. We let suffering continue because intervening was too expensive. The humans remind us of what we once were. Before we became so civilized that we forgot to be kind, they show us that protocol should never override compassion. That order without mercy is just another form of chaos. Captain Crixtal spoke again. I propose a resolution. The human doctrine. Any distress call in space must be answered if possible. Any being in need must be helped regardless of species, politics, or ability to pay. Any enemy defeated must be shown mercy if they surrender. This is radical, Counselor Vrix began. This is necessary, Crixtal interrupted. The humans have been in space for 50 years. In that time, they've saved more lives through rescue operations than were lost in the border wars. They've shown that there's another way. The vote was called. One by one, representatives stood to be counted. The Vrix delegation stood first, remembering the colony ship. The Corvins followed, thinking of the human engineer who shared impossible solutions. The Zalathi rose, recalling the research station saved from the ion storm. Even the Craxians, observers without voting rights, stood in symbolic support. When the count was finished, the human doctrine had passed by an overwhelming majority. Across the galaxy, the message went out. Distress calls would be answered. Lives would be valued over protocols. Mercy would be shown to the defeated. It was a fundamental shift in how the galaxy operated, all because one human ship had answered a call for help. On Earth, the news was received with typical human confusion.